drones have become an important weapon for both sides of the Russian war with Ukraine.
When you're this close to the river, which is a front line, you are always watched through drones in the sky or from the Russians themselves, so you have to move quickly.
Ukrainians are being encouraged to assemble them at home as well as take part in free pilot lessons.
They specialise in these attack drones. Basic, cheap, deadly.
With military aid packages currently blocked in both the US and European Union, President Zelensky has promised to make 1 million drones within the country this year.
Officials in Moscow say hundreds of Ukrainian drones have targeted the city, what appears to be the largest attack on the Russian capital so far in the war.
Russia just lost 28 naval vessels to Ukrainian drone attacks in Crimea. That's nearly 60% of their Black Sea fleet destroyed by remote attacks, delivering a devastating blow to Russia's naval power projection in the region. This catastrophic loss represents more than just missing ships. It's a strategic collapse of Russia's maritime dominance that has controlled the Black Sea for decades. Now, Ukraine's newest weapon threatens to deliver something even more consequential: a 3,000-kilometer range drone with capabilities previously unimaginable in this conflict. As Putin faces unprecedented military losses and Trump threatens crushing economic sanctions, is Russia finally being forced to the negotiating table?
The technological revolution in modern warfare.
Before 2022, Ukraine relied on conventional military tactics and equipment, a strategy that would have spelled disaster against Russia's overwhelming numerical advantage. When faced with the full-scale invasion, Ukrainian military planners made a pivotal strategic calculation. Rather than attempting to match Russian tanks with Ukrainian tanks or jets with jets, a losing proposition given Russia's massive arsenal, they would leverage asymmetric warfare through drone technology. This technological pivot exploited the fundamental inefficiency in Russia's military-industrial complex. While Moscow invested billions in maintaining expensive legacy weapon systems, like lumbering giants too slow to adapt, Kyiv embraced nimble, cost-effective unmanned systems. The battlefield asymmetry created by Russia's conventional superiority became Ukraine's catalyst for innovation, where tradition would have failed. Military analysts worldwide have been stunned by Ukraine's rapid transformation. What began as desperate adaptation has evolved into a comprehensive military doctrine centered on unmanned systems at every combat level. Ukraine's goal of producing 4 million drones annually represents an industrial mobilization that would make the country a global leader in military drone production, potentially accounting for over 20% of worldwide output. International partnerships have accelerated this development. Countries like Italy and Denmark provide financial support specifically for drone programs, compressing years of research into months. This creates a technological feedback loop where battlefield experience immediately drives design improvements.
You ask the Ukrainians, they are asking us for ammunition now. Friends, there are still ammunition in stock in Europe. We have air defense that we don't have to use ourselves at the moment, that we should deliver to Ukraine.
Ukraine's drone program stands apart through its integration of civilian expertise. The country has embraced a decentralized model that harnesses its tech sector's innovation rather than relying solely on established defense contractors. Tech companies have pivoted dramatically to meet military needs. Take VRA, creator of the Molfar FPV drone. Before the war, their engineers designed consumer electronics. Now they craft weapon systems that outmaneuver Russian defenses. Similarly, Skyfall transformed from a civilian tech company to produce the Vampire drone, rapidly scaling production to meet frontline demands. This civilian military ecosystem responds to battlefield needs with unprecedented speed. The economics are compelling. A $400 Ukrainian attack drone can destroy Russian equipment worth millions. This creates an unsustainable attrition dynamic for Moscow, whose larger military budget cannot keep pace with replacement costs. The mobility of drone platforms makes them exceptionally difficult to target, compounding Russia's defensive challenges. This revolution extends beyond the current conflict. Military strategists worldwide study Ukraine's innovations, recognizing that modern warfare's calculus has fundamentally shifted. Smaller nations now have viable pathways to develop asymmetric capabilities against traditionally superior forces. Russia's response reveals structural weaknesses. Despite substantial investment in drone programs, Moscow struggles to match Ukraine's innovations, remaining dependent on imported Chinese components with many designs merely copying existing platforms. This technological gap has proven devastating, particularly in Crimea, where Russia's prized Black Sea Fleet now faces constant threat from Ukraine's drone forces.
Crimea under siege. The naval devastation.
Crimea's transformation from impregnable fortress to vulnerable target represents more than tactical failure. It marks the collapse of centuries of Russian naval doctrine. The destruction of vessels like the Moskva, Saratov, and Rostov-on-Don has depleted Russia's fleet and shattered the aura of invincibility that once protected Putin's most strategically vital military assets. Since Catherine the Great established the Black Sea Fleet in 1783, it has served as both military cornerstone and symbolic projection of Russian power. These ships embodied Russia's historical claim to great power status and Putin's determination to reassert dominance in what Moscow considers its rightful sphere of influence. This maritime advantage has evaporated with stunning rapidity. How could our mighty fleet fall so quickly? Russian naval officers reportedly ask in private meetings. Ukraine's methodical dismantling of Russian naval power demonstrates an unprecedented asymmetric achievement in modern warfare. Through ingenious deployment of Neptune anti-ship missiles and swarms of kamikaze drones, Ukrainian forces have systematically targeted Russia's most valuable naval assets while evading sophisticated defense systems. The tactical execution reveals a devastating pattern. Ukrainian forces destroyed the Alligator-class Saratov with a precision missile strike. The intelligence ship Ivan Kurs and the Ropucha-class landing ship Olenigorsky Gornyak fell next, leaving critical gaps in Russia's intelligence gathering and amphibious capabilities. In perhaps the most symbolic blow, Ukrainian Su-24 bombers armed with Western-supplied Storm Shadow missiles simultaneously destroyed the Minsk landing ship and the submarine Rostov-on-Don, exposing fundamental vulnerabilities in Russia's naval defenses. Even smaller craft proved defenseless, with Ukrainian drones methodically eliminating patrol boats that once secured perimeters around larger assets. These victories cascade into strategic consequences that ripple far beyond Crimea's waters. As each vessel sinks, Russia's narrative of naval supremacy sinks with it. Moscow's forced naval retreat has fundamentally altered the maritime balance, compelling a defensive posture where aggressive operations once dominated. The economic toll compounds this military humiliation. With destroyed assets valued at over $2 billion, Russia faces both immediate losses and long-term implications for its shipbuilding industry. The fleet's 60% reduction represents an extraordinary financial burden for a military budget already stretched by war and sanctions. Within Russia's carefully constructed power hierarchy, naval disasters have triggered institutional friction. Commanders have been relieved and security protocols overhauled amid increasingly public displays of blame. Where naval leadership once projected confident competence, now uncertainty prevails. The final accounting reveals a maritime catastrophe unprecedented in modern warfare. 28 of Russia's 47 active vessels in the Black Sea Fleet destroyed or rendered inoperable. This dramatic reversal of naval fortune, accomplished without Ukraine deploying a single conventional warship, doesn't just change military calculations. It undermines the very foundation of Russian maritime identity built over centuries.
The 3,000-kilometer game changer.
While Ukraine's naval drone campaign has rewritten the rules of maritime warfare, a new development threatens to extend this paradigm shift far beyond Crimea's shores. Ukraine's newly developed long-range drone, with its unprecedented 3,000-kilometer operational reach, fundamentally alters the strategic calculus of Europe's largest land war since 1945. This capability places Moscow, St. Petersburg, and virtually every significant Russian military installation within striking distance, eliminating Russia's last remaining strategic advantage, its vast territory. For centuries, Russia's enormous geographic depth has served as its ultimate defensive bulwark, providing sanctuary for command centers, industrial capacity, and critical infrastructure. Even during World War II, when German forces penetrated deep into Soviet territory, this geographic advantage allowed the USSR to relocate industrial production beyond the Urals, maintaining critical war manufacturing. The Ukrainian drone effectively neutralizes this historical advantage, creating vulnerability across Russian territory. This Phantom drone combines extended range with advanced stealth capabilities. Like a ghost that can materialize anywhere in Russian airspace, it incorporates radar-absorbent materials and specialized flight control systems designed to evade detection. The drone can carry precision munitions capable of disabling hardened targets, representing a significant advancement in Ukraine's aerial arsenal. The strategic impact extends beyond military installations. The Omsk refinery, Gazprom's headquarters in St. Petersburg, and power stations supplying Moscow now sit within striking distance. Transportation hubs and command centers previously considered untouchable must be defended or relocated. Russian military planners face an entirely new threat matrix, where no strategic asset enjoys guaranteed security. The psychological dimension may prove even more significant. Russian military doctrine has always presumed that strategic assets in Moscow and other major population centers would remain beyond an adversary's reach in conventional conflict. That calculation has been upended. For the first time since the Cold War, a nation without ICBMs can project power directly into Russia's heartland. Russian responses reveal a system caught unprepared. Emergency redeployments of air defense systems have been initiated to protect critical infrastructure, though these systems have already demonstrated limitations against Ukrainian drones. Analysts note that Russia's air defense network was designed primarily to counter traditional aircraft, not low observable drones with unpredictable flight patterns. This strategic realignment creates difficult questions for Russian leadership. Maintaining occupation in Ukraine now carries a direct cost to homeland security, a trade-off that grows increasingly untenable as Ukrainian strike capabilities mature. Each day provides Ukrainian forces with opportunities to refine targeting data on critical Russian infrastructure, potentially setting conditions for coordinated strikes that could severely impact Russia's warfighting capacity. The 3,000-kilometer drone transforms not only the Ukraine conflict, but potentially the nature of future wars, where smaller powers can hold the strategic assets of larger states at risk without deploying conventional air forces. This conflict has reached a strategic inflection point that could redirect the war's course. Military analysts observe how battlefield innovations, naval defeats, and diplomatic pressures create conditions where peace negotiations become increasingly rational for Moscow. The possibility of peace depends on Turkey's diplomatic initiatives, Trump's economic ultimatums, and Putin's strategic calculus about timing. As Russian assets grow vulnerable, the cost-benefit analysis shifts dramatically. The human toll behind these strategic calculations remains immeasurable. This conflict has rewritten military doctrine by showing how smaller nations with affordable drone technology can effectively challenge nuclear superpowers forever, changing how we understand modern warfare.